Hello everybody, John12 back here again with another video, and I'm here with another top 5 list. Yes, it's that time of the week again, so let's get into this week's top 5 list. Now, of course, I've given you my top 5 list on the best and my personal favorite fights and battles of Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo, and now it's time to end it all with my top 5 Gohan Fights list. Yes, the greatest fights and my personal favorite that the character of Son Gohan has in the Dragon Ball Z anime series. Yes, before he became completely irrelevant in Dragon Ball Super, at one time he was a big fan favorite of mine and a lot of people, and he was one of the best and fiercest characters of Dragon Ball Z, or the Dragon Ball series as a whole. So it was very interesting to be a fan of that character. Of course, nowadays he's kind of been downgraded drastically, considering at one point he was the prodigal son. He was supposed to take up the mantle of the main protagonist or hero of the series, but along the way I'm guessing Toriyama decided it was not his role, it was not his fit, and it became what it became. Goku continues to be the protagonist and hero, which I'm okay with, but I still wish that Gohan did get some relevancy here and there, because he does deserve it, a lot like Piccolo and of course other characters. But that being said, that's another topic for another time. Today we have a top 5 list dedicated to the greatest fights and battles the character has, because before he did become completely irrelevant in subsequent series, he did have a lot of great fights and battles within Dragon Ball Z. And of course I do have a specific criteria, like previous fights, like the Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo fights list, which is, of course, I will not be choosing any fights and battles the character has in Dragon Ball, mostly because Gohan does not appear in Dragon Ball, none of the TV specials or movies, and of course none from GT or Super. With that being said, it will only be specifically just fights the character has within the Dragon Ball Z anime series. But with that being said, and of course, it's subjective. It's my personal list, my personal thoughts. So of course, please give me your top 5 list in the comment section below. What's your personal and favorite fights slash battles the character has within Dragon Ball Z anime series? And of course, if you want to include the movies and TV specials, please do so in the comment section below. But that being said, alright, let's start off with this list with number 5. Coming number 5 has to go to Gohan versus Dobrze. Now, of course, Gohan versus Dobrze is really the first real significant fight within the Buu arc before shit really goes down with the, of course, upbringing or the resurrection of the Majin Buu character becoming the main antagonist for the rest of the series. Of course, Dobrze was a very interesting, cool-looking character, and of course the newest addition to the antagonist or rogues gallery, if you will, of the Dragon Ball series. And of course, because it's so low on the list, it's not really the most magnificent fight that Gohan does have within the series. However, it is still a pretty epic fight. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, of course, was at this point in time still the top tier character before we realized how far Vegeta has come with his training, and of course Goku with his Super Saiyan 3 transformation. Gohan is the top tier character, so he is the perfect character to battle this newest threat, which is Dobrze, because this is obviously pre-Majin Buu, and Dobrze was a very interesting new addition to the rogues gallery, if you will, of Dragon Ball Z characters and villains, with his newest abilities and the fact that they were fighting in like this really cool shadow world, which was really epic and badass. Gohan Super Saiyan fucking 2 fucking kicking ass. Of course, at the end of the day, this fight does end up being kind of lackluster by the end of it, because of course Dobrze gets away. Gohan really doesn't have a good factor in this fight, and of course this creates the conflict for future conflicts, which is Goku versus Vegeta. But at the end of the day, it is a pretty epic, cool fight within Dragon Ball Z that Gohan does have. But that being said, moving off that, going to number 4 on this list, has to go to Gohan versus Vegeta. Of course, I'm specifically choosing from the Saiyan arc. Of course, Gohan does battle Vegeta here and there within the Namek saga, and of course by the end of the Frieza saga. But at the end of the day, my favorite fight that Gohan does have with the character of Vegeta has to be within the Saiyan arc. Of course, Gohan at this point in time, he's learning how to fight. He's been trained by Piccolo, but he's still scared and unaware of his true abilities. And I think the cool thing about it is that he knows he's completely outmatched by Vegeta. He knows he can't beat him, but for the sake of saving his dad and his friends and his planet, he takes on Vegeta head on, and it's freaking epic and awesome. Of course, the Saiyan arc will always be one of my favorite arcs, and possibly the best Saiyan saga in general within the series of Dragon Ball. But regardless of any of that, it's still a badass fight with a lot of crazy things going into it. Krillin with his Destructo Disc, freaking Gohan and Goku telepathy freaking thing going on. You have the Spirit Bomb, you have the Great Ape transformation, taking down Vegeta for the final blow. It's an epic, badass fight that Gohan has within the Saiyan arc, and it's a great, good cherry on top of the epicness that is that saga. But moving off of that, going to number 3 on this list has to go to Gohan versus Frieza. Now, a lot like Vegeta, Gohan has a lot of various fights with Frieza within the Frieza saga. Of course, Gohan does fight Frieza in subsequent movies and TV specials, and of course in Super as well, which was very lackluster. However, Gohan fighting Frieza in the Frieza saga was awesome because it would just showed the intensity and anger within his character. He is kicking Frieza's ass. Of course, it's very momentarily. It doesn't happen all the time. It's not a drastic fight, but it consistently happens within all of Frieza's freaking transformations, whether it's second form Frieza, third form Frieza, which Gohan completely annihilated. Then you have final form Frieza, which was completely epic, and I loved the intensity within Gohan, especially when he finds out in the anime only kind of filler moments, which is of course when Gohan thinks that his father's dead and he faces Frieza alone in a destructive, almost dead Namek planet. Scenario wise, it is freaking phenomenal to look at and watch. It is freaking awesome. Gohan fighting Frieza is epic, and because the Frieza saga is so long, the Frieza conflict is elongated as all hell, and plus, considering I watched it a dozen times growing up, it is freaking hard to get out of my brain. So with that being said, it is on this list and it's top 3. Moving off of that, and going to number 2 on this list has to go to Ultimate Gohan versus Super Buu. Of course, this is the last epic fight Gohan does have with the remainder of the Dragon Ball franchise. This is pretty much his last bout, if you will, which is kind of sad. But at the end of the day, I feel like it was a good epic fight. And Ultimate Gohan is possibly one of, other than the next portion on this list, is one of the best renditions of Gohan. Gohan at his purest form. He has reached the pinnacle of his power and strength due to old Kai's freaking training and meditation, and he's become the strongest he's become. And he takes on, I guess, the mantle of Goku and goes to defeat Super Buu. And it was a very good throwback to kind of like the Frieza arc, where Goku just comes in, walks to freaking Frieza, takes him on. Gohan does the same thing, and of course has that really epic line, both in the anime and manga, where he's just like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm not gonna fight you. I'm gonna kill you. It's freaking epic awesomeness. The fight itself is also really epic. Gohan is completely dominating Super Buu. Super Buu, the psychotic bastard that he is, completely screws everything up due to his absorbing of Gotenks, which really destroyed the whole Gohan momentum and pretty much ended right on its heels and pretty much ended the reign of Gohan for the remainder of the Dragon Ball franchise. However, regardless of any of that, right before that moment happens, it's still an epic, awesome fight, and it's pretty much the last great battle of Gohan, and it was just awesome while it lasted. And granted, it shouldn't have ended the way it did with the absorption of freaking Gohan, but of Gotenks. And of course, then with Gohan, once Goku and Vegeta came onto the scene. But regardless, it's still pretty cool to see the last fight of Gohan. But with that being said, before I get to my number 1 pick, let's get into some honorable mentions that are awesome fights and battles the character Gohan does have that did not get on this list. Of course, Gohan versus Raditz, Gohan versus Nappa, Gohan versus Piccolo, Gohan versus Goku, Gohan versus the Ginyu Force, and of course Captain Ginyu, Gohan versus the androids, Gohan versus Cell Juniors, and of course Gohan versus Majin Buu. But with that being said, with the honorable mentions being done, let's get into my number 1 pick, which of course has to go to Gohan versus Perfect Cell. This is the first time Gohan becomes the top tier character. This is when he ascends to Super Saiyan 2. This is the moment, this is his moment. This is the defining moment within Dragon Ball series and of course Dragon Ball Z and of course for the character of Gohan. He unleashes his true potential. He becomes a Super Saiyan 2. He takes on Perfect Cell and he dominates. He destroys. He freaking beats Perfect Cell, the main villain, the main antagonist, and of course becomes the main hero of Dragon Ball. Of course up until the Buu arc comes along. completely destroying the character. But it was still really cool to see that moment happening. The conflict between Cell was a legitimate conflict that could have destroyed the entire galaxy. And of course, Gohan was the only person to really step in between and take this guy down. And of course, I think the main aspect to take away from this is that Gohan doesn't believe in himself. He doesn't believe in himself. He doesn't think he's capable of beating this character. However, because of the love of his father, which is Goku, his friends, and of course his family, he pushes himself past that to face on this threat. And I think that's the coolest aspect about the fight, at least the one that I draw from. And it also shows the true, I guess, mindset of these characters, which is they don't want to kill. They don't want to kill these people. They don't want to destroy these people, but they have to. And that has a lot to do with the incorporation of Android 16 and his death in the whole conflict, which is, you know, you don't want to do this, but you have to, because Cell, he's not going to stop, so you have to do something. And I love that, and I love that incorporation. There's a lot of themes that are going on. There's a lot of help. There's a lot of crazy conflicts and factors that go into this fight that make it even more amazing. And then of course the finale with it, which is the combination of the Super Kamehamehas, and then of course the father and son, Goku, completely, you know, trying to get into the mindset of Gohan to help him, to push him through, that he's not alone in this. The incorporation of all the other Z Warriors trying to pitch in and fight and defeat Cell, and of course with the final blow, Vegeta just completely destroying Cell, was amazing. It was the greatest, possibly the best finale in all of Dragon Ball Z, to end it right off with an entire epic fight. It was awesome and amazing, and it was the best Gohan fight and battle in all of Dragon Ball Z, and of course in the entire Dragon Ball franchise. But with that being said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment below, let me know what your personal list is of your personal favorite Dragon Ball Z anime Gohan fights. Of course, if you want to include the movies and TV specials, you can do so as well. But at the end of the day, this is my personal list. It's my subjective list, so of course, keep that in mind. Also, on top of that, considering the newest epic news, I guess, if we've gotten for Dragon Ball Super, I might make another top 5 list for a Dragon Ball Z character, fights-wise and battle-wise, possibly by the end of this month or the beginning of next month. But at the end of the day, that's pretty much the end of my top 5 Dragon Ball Z list for now. And of course, I'll continue in following months. But with that being said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been my top 5 list of Gohan. Of course, go back and check out my Piccolo fights, Goku, and of course Vegeta. At the end of the day, I hope you guys enjoyed. Shameless plug time. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jock12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Jock12.